let's get into the lecture 23, which is about the Hadith. But before I start talking about the Hadith, let me say something that I should have mentioned last time as we finished up on apostasy, and that has to do with something that Kenneth Craig, the venerable scholar, probably the greatest Christian scholar on Islam that we've ever had, now almost 90 years old, I suspect, in the UK, and he hasn't much time left, but he says, he just points out how Muslims look on apostasy, that is, anyone who leaves Islam. He says that the Muslim interprets any Muslim conversion as a repudiation of the Islamic State, and as such punishable by banishment, life imprisonment, or death, being an act of political treason, end of quote. So that is why Islamic law has treated people who have converted out of Islam as political traitors. And Abbott adds this comment: the penalty for apostasy is death. Traditionals say there is no distinction between the state and the faith, and looks upon apostasy as treason. Kenneth Craig is the one that came up with that. So it's true that apostasy is a very serious thing. And I would say again that though the threat is there, and I saw this in Pakistan, they do not always kill the apostate. In other words, one of my friends in Pakistan who came to Christ from a Muslim background, he said that when he came to Christ, it took 3 years for his family, in other words, his Muslim family, to come to terms with it, to accept him. They were not so happy. In other words, they are unwilling to accept it, but they finally came to terms with it. He said it took 7 years for the church to accept him. And so the national church, the Christian church, does not easily and willingly accept Muslim converts or people who come to faith out of Islam. The reason is that sometimes they've turned back, sometimes they've married a Christian girl and then taken the girl into Islam, and so it hasn't been a happy experience for many of them. When we were there in Pakistan, a couple of our friends who came to Christ, we arranged for their marriage, and we found Christian girls. One was a Roman Catholic and the other was a Protestant. The Roman Catholic had been born again. We checked into her and her family, and we made the arrangements. That is, my wife and I. It was no small thing, but we felt that someone had to take responsibility, because the Christian community wasn't willing to give the girl up until somebody takes responsibility. And those 2 marriages are still going, and they're still intact. Now let's leave that subject on apostasy and go on to talk a little bit more, actually talk about the Hadith. We're not going to spend much time on it. And there is a website here, www.islam-world.net. And there is material on there. You can go in there and find a Quran. You can get on into the commentaries. You can get on into different translations. You can even find information on how to get a free Quran. You know, the Muslims are really quite active, more and more active. This morning I was quite surprised to hear on NPR, they said that, on June the 8th, today, was the birthday of the Prophet Muhammad. That's what I heard. The truth is, this is the day he died, June the 8th, 632. But having said that, Muslims celebrate both of them together. In Pakistan, where I was for many years, they had 2 major Eids, celebrations. There was the sacrifice when Abraham sacrificed his son, Ishmael. And then there was the celebration after the month of fast, Ramadan, the 9th month. But then there was a third one, and that was the celebration, Eid Milad Nabi, the celebration for the birthday of the Prophet, Eid Milad Nabi. Nabi meaning prophet. And that, in the beginning of our time, there was nothing really. But then at the end, 23 years later, this celebration had increased greatly. And now even here, we're hearing it on NPR. What does Hadith mean? Well, Hadith is Sunnah, and that's the path of the Prophet. Whatever Muhammad said in answer to an inquiry, or he said on his own. Sunnah is that's where the word Sunni comes from, people who follow the Prophet. And there's been a lot of controversy on this. There has been so much controversy on the traditions. Some have said you need them, some said you don't. There are 6 authentic sets of traditions in Sunni Islam. And we've been talking about some of them. The one that most people trust the most is Al-Bukhari. There are 6 sets, and that's the most quoted one. I have the set in hard copy, 9 copies. I bought it in Pakistan for a song. Both the Arabic and the English is there. And then the other one, Al-Muslim, is quite common too. That has 4 volumes. But you can get it online again, and it'd be good to, put it just a shortcut on your laptop, your desktop, and then you can go to it and you can look up various subjects. I'll say more about that in a minute. But let me say this, that you can get the Hadith from www.answering-islam.org. www.answering-islam.org. And you can go in there and find, look under the subject of hell. Lots of stuff on hell, I'm telling you. Lots of stuff on women, stuff on Jesus. And somebody has done a lot of work for us. Again, there's been so much controversy on the Hadith. These guys like Bukhari, they siphoned down through spurious, thousands and thousands of spurious Hadith, and then finally came down to ones that they said are authentic because they passed the test called Isnad. Isnad meaning that it comes from credible people, starting at the top. Muhammad said such and such, and then they find that, passed it on to Aisha and so on, all the way down the line. That's how they check the authenticity of a tradition. And there are a couple different kinds of traditions. Some are, more authoritative than others. So anyway, we could note some of the traditions that are not most sensible, and I have a note of those. Let me just mention a few of them. Here's one that comes out of Al-Bukhari, volume 7 and number 673. If a fly falls in the drink, dip all in, for one wing has a disease of wings and the other has curt. Well, I don't know what that is, but that's a ridiculous hadith. Another one says the Prophet commanded the tree in Medina to come crawling to him, then commanded it to return. He said, I no longer care who disbelieves me. A third one, he should not leave his prayers until he hears sound or smells something. Bukhari, volume 1, book 4, number 139. The Prophet said to his wives, this is in the Hadith, Bukhari, volume 1, book 4, number 149. He said to them, you are allowed to go out and answer the call to nature. The Prophet performed ablution by washing body parts only once, volume 1, and on and on. The Prophet said that whoever has seen me in a dream shouldn't doubt me. No doubt it is me. Satan can imitate my image, or cannot imitate my image, sorry. The Prophet said, Bani Israel, that is the children of Israel, used to bathe naked. So, once Moses put his clothes on a stone, and the stone ran away with his clothes. There was Moses running after the stone, and Israel says, by Allah, Moses has no defect in his body. And then when Moses finally caught up to the stone, he began beating it. And Abu Hurairah says there are still 6 or 7 marks on the stone from the excessive beating. That comes in volume 1, book 5, number 277. You see what I mean? There's some ridiculous stuff in there. Ibn Umar said this: the Prophet said a believer eats in 1 intestine, but the unbeliever in 7. And this comes out of Muslim, volume 3, 1137. Aisha said this: the apostle using a toothpick when 2 men, one older, were with him. And then revelation came about the merit of using a toothpick. Another one that's ridiculous is that the Prophet used to visit all his wives during 1 night, 11 in number. And so I asked, has he the strength for it? And Anas said, yes, the Prophet has strength for 30 men. The Prophet told someone that who had slept late in the morning, he said, such a man is one in whose ears Satan has urinated. That is Bukhari, volume 4, and 54, or page 492. Allah likes sneezing, dislikes yawning. Yawning is from Satan. So if one sneezes, it's obligatory for everyone to say, God bless you. Yarhamuka illah. But if yawns, one must try to stop it. If one says, ha, when yawning, Satan will laugh at him. And the last one is Satan passes wind. He takes to his heels, so he won't hear the call to prayer. That comes out of Bukhari as well. So some of the traditions are not very sensible. And there's another one in there that Adam is, I don't know, 90 feet tall or something like that.